Good morning, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. It is St. Patrick's Day. It's March 17th, 2015. Stock futures are lower. It's same as last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, stock futures traded lower and continued a sharp decline, bottoming on Wednesday before we had a big rally on Thursday, and then Friday we pulled back to lows of the week before bouncing late in the session. That rally continued yesterday. We had a sharp rally on Monday. We're pulling back here, and the question is this the start of a Tuesday type pullback, or are we just consolidating from the massive move up we had yesterday and looking for new highs for the week here? As I look for this area here, 2100 SP 500 futures as a point where we'll get back to. I like this W bottom. I also like the fact, I'll get into the charts a little bit, and I did yesterday, the fact that we've been oversold. It looks like we're curling up to the upside. Also, we have the Fed tomorrow, so that's going to be a wild card. But again, the Fed, for the most part, has been pretty bullish for the market. Let's look at the U.S. dollar index, which I think you have to keep an eye on here, and it's starting to take a break a little bit. We're down about 1/3%, so we hit our highs last week. We're pulling back. We're consolidating. To me, this is good. You don't want to see the dollar appreciate in value too much. You'd rather see a little more of it, just a slow, methodical melt up than a spike to the upside. Crude oil just pulled back to new 5+ year lows this morning. It's getting a little bit of a bounce. USO, the ETF that tracks crude oil, again hitting the 116, breaking below it briefly this morning, bouncing a little bit. But again, look at the long-term picture. I don't see any kind of support until we hit, and I'll draw a little line across for you. You can see what I'm talking about. I don't really see any kind of support for crude oil until we hit about the 38, 39 level. You can go all the way across to start the trend line, starting in just after the internet bubble, and go all the way across. We bottomed in March of 2009, right with the market. And look at that. This area right here, you can see just under 40 on crude oil, where we should find support, and maybe we'll see a bounce like we saw back at the financial crisis of 2009, March lows, which saw a spike up to 120 before pulling back. Let me just erase that and get the drawing tools off. So we're going to look at some individual names here. Let's go to, we have Twitter yesterday after the bell upgraded. It's starting to move a little higher this morning pre-market. Facebook also spoken positively about, and to me it looks like it's consolidating here. Support's about 72.50. You can see it's been really gyrating for the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 months in this pretty narrow range, in spite of some spikes to the upside and downside. For the most part, been contained in this channel. You could draw a topside line here. And it looks poised to break out, and I think it's going to hit triple digits, just like I think with Twitter as well. If you go back from a longer-term perspective, there you go. I love this flagging pattern here for Twitter as well, consolidating in this range, and the range is starting to narrow, and I think we're poised for a move up over 50 in the short term. GoPro, I have some calls in this name, and you can look as well, hit record highs back in October, and is really you can see the dramatic sell-off from the highs, and you can see the selling's kind of stopped. These little tiny bodies in these candles here indicates very little price movement compared to how it's moved in the past, and I think that means the sellers are leaving. Also keep in mind it's a heavily shorted name, so if we see any kind of a bounce, the shorts might want to cover their positions, which could help boost a bid under the stock and send it up. I think it's going to hit 45 and then over 50, so I'm trading for a move over 45 this week. Google, what a reversal. It's amazing what a difference one day we can make. On Friday, it's second consecutive Friday with an upgrade, completely destroyed on Friday. And look, it came down to the 550 support. Loves this level. I've been talking about this for many, many moons. Came down to 550, a beautiful spike up, and you see a nice flagging pattern here. This is the type of bottom you want to see, and I think it's going to head back up to the highs we saw at the start of the month. Apple, news after the bell yesterday, talking about TV, and you can see this channel, which I haven't pulled this chart up in a while, broke briefly below this consolidating channel here. Looks to get to the top side of it. It'll bring us to about 129 for Apple in the short term. The bond market is seeing a bid. Quantitative easing started last Monday from the ECB, and you can see the bond market here above a key level here, former resistance, now support 127. It's up to almost 129 this morning. TLT, the 20-year bond treasury to ETF, looks to head back over 130. Let's look at some other names. Home Depot, which was up almost, 2% yesterday. Again, a consolidation here after spiking up from earnings. It looks poised to get to 120 plus. We have Tesla. Some positive news out from the CEO. The stock was moved off its recent lows and look almost a double bottom if you look back at the end of January. Bring that trend line all the way across here to 187.50, acting as support. So could we see move back up to 227? I would at least think over 200 and then 207. We've got to break this long-term trend line resistance for Twitter. IWM, small caps, not as big a gain yesterday, but if you look how they've performed relative to the market, even when the market gets weak, small caps seem to be well bid. So I'm looking for this consolidation phase here that we're seeing from the recent action to end with higher prices for IWM. Biotech surging to new all-time record high. This morning, biotech is basically flat. So we're looking for a continuation of this move. I mean, why step in front of this freight train? It's just like the SP 500. The spiders, I'll bring that chart up in a minute. Look at the trend. I mean, we've had one really big pullback at start of 2014 and really unabated to the quarterback save when Janet Yellen came out and said, hey, biotech's a little bit of a bubble, $100 to the upside later. I guess that bubble got a little bigger. Let's look at the S&P 500 ETF. Okay, that's a 5-year weekly chart. You can see long-term trend line support here, just be under 200. But to me, and if you bring up some of the indicators on a shorter term duration here, we got the 2-year chart, and you can see each time it gets, you see these little green candles, these buy signals off of oversold conditions, has led to a significant spike higher in the SPY. So that's what I'm looking for here. I think we're in somewhat of your early stages of a move back up towards the record highs that we saw earlier this year. All right, UPB here. I'll go over some individual names as I did yesterday at the blog, so keep checking back at the blog. If I have any trades that I get into, I have some Twitter calls, some GoPro calls. But Facebook seems to be looking good this morning. Facebook is over to 78 handle, 78.42. So Facebook looks poised to take out 80 in the short term. Garmin, a stock I didn't like heading into 2015, has really, look at it pulling back since the start of the year. You can see the move to the downside. But finding support, and I talked about this $45 level. We got near it before we bounced yesterday. So keep an eye on this one. At some point, it's going to find support. Another one, Domino's Pizza off the bottom here. You can see it's curling up. With lower oil prices as well, a stock like FedEx, look at that off support yesterday, looking good. And crude oil continues to plummet lower. It's going to help some of the airlines and the shipping companies. All right, UPB, I'll see you in the chat room. Everyone have a happy St. Patty's Day. Don't drink too much. Take care.